There are no recipes in Mary Orvis Marbury's book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories. Once in a while, though, in the description of the fly, she does talk about an ingredient or two that are used. This is a beaverkill, and the wing is supposed to be curlew, which, another illustration of how different things are for us in the tying world than they were for Mary. There's quite a bit of description in her book about the naming of this fly and its popularity. She does say that some people had tried to substitute other things for the curlew and really it wasn't successful, but I'm going to substitute anyway. I am tying it on a number 10 hook, and this is another question that I have in terms of hook sizes. I don't know if the sizes in the 1890s were anything like ours now, and I couldn't find in a quick search any information about it. So she says that it was tied small, but then she says a 6 or a 7. So I'm tying it on a 10. I don't know if that's small enough or too small based on what flies might have been, or hooks might have been numbered when she tied the fly. I'm using some white floss for the body, fairly slender in the illustration. I have some gold oval tinsel that I'm using for the rib, and I'll just spiral wrap that. It's pretty standard fly in her trout series. They all seem to have the basic same characteristics. Some of them have a tail, some of them don't, a body, and then a wing with a hackle. I did read or hear recently that there didn't really make a big distinction back then about a dry fly versus a wet fly, and this really looks more like a wet fly. So instead of the curlew, I am using some duck quill. So I have matching quills, and there's kind of a odd bend in the feather here, so my wings are kind of splitting because of that, because I want the mottled appearance on that wing. I'll go ahead and pinch those together and then wrap up over them and tie them in. I'll pick up the butt ends and wrap under them, and then I can clip those out. And I'm going to wrap a fairly substantial head on it because that's how the fly looks in Mary's illustration. She did tie on hooks that did not have eyes, and so the head gets a little bit larger because she was tying in some gut material. For the hackle, I'm just using this brown hen feather. I'll pull off all the fluff at the bottom of the stem. And I figure out about how much I want on there. Clean that stem. Then I'll take my hackle pliers and grab the tip. Pull back on all the fibers that the hackle plier didn't grab. Then I have that large triangle, and I'll just go ahead and clip that small. And then I can just lay that across my hook. And just grab that little triangle, wrap up over it. grab the feather stem with my hackle pliers and I'll pull back on all those fibers and wrap it in what today we would call a soft hackle wet fly, because that's really what it looks like to me in the illustration in Mary's book. And the book was published in 1892 after she had spent her working life as the fly tyer for the Orvis company, and she had taught a number of other, mostly women, to tie flies for the company. If I can snap that stem, I prefer that. There. And then I am using a claret thread because the head on Mary's fly does have that reddish look to it. Go ahead and whip finish that. And then I'll put some head cement on it. The head cement that I use is a diluted goop, and I'll put a recipe for that in the description. This diluted goop will dry clear. When it goes on, it's obviously wet, and so it makes the thread look darker than it is. But when it dries, it will be regular clear. So, the Beaverkill from Mary Orvis Marbury's book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories, published in 1892.